about to start. We'll talk about code or whatever we'll talk about today. It's about to start, so please hang tight while I check that everything is okay. Sound check, camera check, lights check. How's my hair? Oh, wait, I don't have any hair. Maybe put some pants on and I am good to go. So get ready wherever you are, 'cause this stream is about to start. Get ready wherever you are, 'cause this stream is about to start. Hello, my name is Leandro Facchinetti, and let's write some code together, shall we? What we have on the menu today is a sort of a break from what we have been doing on this series of streams. We are still going to be working on real-time audio effects for REAPER using the JSFX language, but we are not going to continue working on the auto mixer that we have been working on recently. We're just going to take a break to do one plugin from beginning to end, hopefully, using the library that we have been developing for JSFX. And this is a request from yesterday. Juan was watching the stream and suggested that we create a simple volume knob with the intent of putting it here on the mixer control panel. It will work similar to this in the sense that you can put it on the mixer control panel and you can drag it up and down to change the gain, except that it will be, it won't have the VU meter. It is simply a gain knob. Very simple plugin, but it will be useful for him. Perhaps it will be useful for other people, and it is a bit of a break, which is always refreshing, and it's something that I think we can finish today. And Juan is here. Hello, great to have you. So I hope you enjoy the ride, and thanks for the suggestion. So on my development folder here of plugins, I have already a volume knob kind of thing, but I was looking at it before the start of the stream and while the intro music was playing, and it seems like this is super old, using an old version of the library. It's not worth reusing it. Let's start from scratch with a volume. And I'm going to put a bunch of things here on the name just because it will be easier to search if all these names are present. So it is a volume knob, it is a gain knob, it can be also be trim, that's the terminology that some DAWs use. So volume, gain, trim, let's see what else. Oh, and you may notice here on the upper right, there is a little indication of the keyboard shortcuts I'm using. This was a request, I think it was from Ben on the Discord chat. He wanted to learn more of the keyboard shortcuts that I use, especially in Visual Studio Code. So now they will pop up here on the upper right. Let me know if you like this. And if you are wondering, what's this Discord chat about? Then check the link in the description, because the first link there goes to my website, and from there you can go to the Discord invite, and then you can hang out with the friends of the channel. Anyway, let's do a quick search for volume and see what other terms people use. There is volume trim. Is that perhaps the thing that we are building already? Well, not really, because you cannot put it on the MCP. And geez, it takes 0.3% CPU. What the hell is it doing? Oh, it's always looping over all tracks, even when that is unnecessary. Oh well. Volume adjustment, range trim, volume trim. Oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know this was a thing. Is it repack? No, but nice. We sort of built something like this on the stream before. We didn't complete it though. Not yet anyway. Yeah, okay, so it seems like none of the existing options do the thing like exactly like we described. So good, right? We are not trying to create something that already exists. And it was only using the terms volume, gain, and trim, I think, right? Yeah, volume. Yeah. Okay, so I will call the effect this. And another thing I'm going to do is open an existing effect like the auto mixer, just so we can get the template, the boilerplate, things that need to be in every plugin for the library to work, for instance. Ben is here. Hello, Ben. I'm glad that you found a phone charger. Oh, okay, fair enough. It was you, right, Ben? It was you who asked for me to install Keycaster so you can see the keyboard shortcuts here on the upper right. Perhaps on the phone it will be too small, but I don't want it to be disturbing, so I thought I would make it relatively small on the corner. But it was you, right? So I hope you enjoyed that I installed the thing and you'll be able to see my keyboard shortcuts as I am using them in Visual Studio Code. Anyway, Bo and Taylor here. Hello. It's great that you all are here joining me today. And it's going to be one of those little one-off fun things that we finish in one pass, hopefully. Yes, I know Mike. Yeah, we thought about having a Discord server for the channel, but then Mike invited us into the Discord channel that he already, Discord server that he already has. So we are a channel in his Discord server. And I also know Mike because we have streamed together. It was a conversation with John from Toucan Studios, in case you know about Toucan Studios and his plugins in JSFX. So we talked to him before. You can go and watch that if you're interested after we finish this stream, of course. Oh, all right. So glad to see you're using Keycaster. Yeah, sure. My only suggestion would be to switch from the default visualizer to the other one. It's a little better. I don't know. I looked at it and I didn't love it. You're talking about this one, and what I don't like about it is that it's always on the screen. So it is nice that I think it's nice that display looks like this. But the fact that it's always on the screen, I think is a bit too much. So that's why I went with the default. And let's see if it's still hanging on to the older settings. And command keys only. Yeah, I think that this is the least disturbing way of doing this, because when I start typing stuff, perhaps it will be overwhelming if it's showing everything and if it's too large. Anyway, let's get to it. So this will have a single slider, and that will be called the volume, and that will be given in dB. And by default, when you load it, it's 0. And if you want to use the slider, I need to give you a range. So I'm going to give you a range of -10 to 10 dB in steps of 0.1. But the fact of the matter is that we are probably not going to use this slider on the actual slider that Reaper renders. We are going to have a graphical user interface that you can drag. So we are not really restricted to this range. In fact, I don't think we are going to limit the range. You will be able to just keep scrolling and adding more and more volume, or removing more and more volume, if that's what you want. Anyway, so single slider, then let's import the library. Then let's have an init block. Well, hang on, do I really need one? I think I will need some constants that I can drop here. So I will have an init block. I already know of a constant that we'll need, but I'll get to it in a moment. Then the slider block we do need because we want to change, or we want to compute the linear volume based on the dB volume. And for that, we can use the library. So dB to linear of the volume in dB. And that's all there is to it. Then the serialized block is boilerplate. The block is not really necessary in this case, but I think I will include it anyway. And then the sample block is, oh, I think I will have another slider actually. I'll call it slider 3. And we have already done this in another plugin. We have done this in the, yeah, we have done this in the waveform visualizer. But the point here is, this is going to be by default a stereo volume knob. But if you change the slider, you can make it multi-channel. So it kind of overlaps with the feature of the other JSFX we just saw that was developed by the REAPER blog. And I will call this perhaps like this. And I will give you two options, stereo or multi-channel. And do I really need a label? Perhaps not. So now you know what I did, because we have Keycaster here, but if you hold on the Mac, if you hold Option and hit space, oh, you don't see that on Keycaster because it's not considered a key command. Anyway, if you hold Option and hit space, then you get this kind of character that is a non-breaking space. And this is a little trick you can use to have a drop-down menu in the default window that REAPER creates for a plugin. So it's a drop-down menu with these options, but it doesn't have a label. Now let's loop. Oh, we need the notion of the channel we are going to affect. And we want to start at 0. We want to do a loop in which we'll loop over the channels. And let's have two constants here, an enumeration, so to speak, for the different options. So if the channels slider is stereo, I guess I will put slider here in the name. Then I want to loop over 2 channels. Otherwise, I don't really need to check the multi-channel stuff because it's the only other option, but I think I will just for clarity. Or perhaps I can do this. I don't need to do this on every sample. I can do this on the slider block. Okay, I think that this does the core functionality of the plugin. So let's test this before we start with the user interface. Okay, I'm glad you agree. Hello, Fatis. Could you make it minus 35 to plus 35? That 70 dB range has some distortion, fun stuff. I hope you mean you increase the gain and then you run into some distortion plugin. I hope you don't mean just let the digital clipping happen. In any case, you want minus 35 to 35, you'll be able to just click and drag on the interface to do it, but I'll give you that. And let's put a tone generator just so we see some kind of meter going up and down. And we are calling this, I think I need to rescan that guy. That's our guy. And I think I prefer this slider to be the first one. So let's switch these two. And I hope that it's clear now how this is a slider without a label. You see there's nothing here. But if you don't have that non-breaking space there, REAPER doesn't show the slider. Okay, so far so good. We can go to 35 and minus 35, and it is affecting the output. But the problem now is, well, there are some problems. But let's start with the problem of automation. So if you want to automate this, or even if you're just playing around with this, it's going to click. You'll be able to hear clicks. Perhaps I should exemplify this, though this is something that we have covered in the past. But let's make the tone generator super quiet so we don't blast our ears. And then let's listen to the thing. I want to go to the computer. Okay, so it is super quiet, so perhaps you're not hearing it, but there is a sine wave already, and I will increase the gain and we'll be able to hear the clicks. I think I hear it more when I'm decreasing the volume. It becomes more apparent, but the clicks are there. And the solution for the clicks is something that we have already implemented in the library, and we explained this in a lot of detail before, but I'll briefly summarize. If you do a drastic volume change, perhaps not by dragging the slider, but by clicking somewhere along the line, that will make a instantaneous jump in gain, which will mean that your waveform is all nice and smooth, and then all of a sudden it jumps around because you're multiplying by a very different number. So the solution, there are different ways of going about this, but the way that we are solving this is with what I'm calling the follower. Perhaps not the best name, but we have a volume knob or a volume slider that you change, and then there is the volume follower that is right behind it, that it's essentially just a fade, right? You're fading into the value of the slider. It's trying to follow the value of the slider, but it is limited in the size of the step it can take. This maximum change that is what some people would call the slew rate. And yeah, I think that that's the one we want to use in this case. So let's introduce the notion of not just the volume linear, but well, I guess there is a target and a follower. think what I'm gonna do is just here, I'm going to do volume linear smooth, because I'm smoothing out the changes. So the follower is this, the target is that we have computed there, and the maximum change, we played around with this when we were defining the follower, and we found that minus 60 dB seems to be a good value. But naturally, we don't want to just paste this here because that would be recomputed on every sample, which is absolutely silly because it is a constant. So that's the constant I talked about when I defined the empty init section. That was the one I had in mind. So what I want is volume linear maximum change, or slew rate, as some would call it, minus 60 dB. And then instead of using the volume linear, we use that one that has been smoothed. Let's listen to this and check if the clicks are gone. I don't hear any clicks, do you? I think we're good. So I think that the only thing left to do is the user interface, unless I am missing something. Well, we could test that this whole multi-channel stuff is working. Yeah, let's do that. And I guess we can do that visually. That will be just a visual test. So let's have 4 tracks instead of 2, and this tone generator is producing audio on the first 2 tracks. Let's duplicate the tone generator, but change its pinout so that it is spitting audio on tracks 3 and 4, just like that. And then let's have both at the same gain, so let's put them both at minus 40. So now our volume is in stereo mode, so it's only affecting the first 2 channels. But if I put it in multi-channel mode, then it affects all of them. Yeah, seems to be working. Great. The only thing left to do is the user interface. GFX, and we want the size of this. I think that the size of the waveform display may be appropriate here. These numbers came from our design system. One of the main purposes of creating the library is that it would come with the design system. So it would come with a predefined choice of colors and spaces and font sizes and font families and all that, so that your plugins look good, or at least you have a greater chance of succeeding in terms of making the plugin look good and usable. So we need this, we need that. Do you want to deal with this whole situation of bypassing and everything? Well, in this case, it's such a simple plugin that I don't think it's worth it. Then we will want to draw the volume dB variable. So let's get this function, and this is a number, but we need a string. So we will use sprintf, that is to format a string, but it doesn't really print anything, it just returns that string as an argument. Or it just returns that string, not as an argument, it just returns that string. So what we want as the format string is just a number. This means digit or means like number. Oh, and it's not going to be just an integer. So let's use f instead. And I think that this will give me 1 decimal place, but I forget. I bet that there is some kind of cheat sheet that we can refer to. C programmers out there probably have this memorized and they're like, come on, it is that's the thing you want. 0 fill, not integer, floating point. Yeah, there you go. I think that 1 decimal place is enough, and that's even our step in the slider, so this is probably what I want. Print 1 position after the decimal. 2 positions, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's the format string. So I almost got it. I almost had it. I had an extra 0 there. Now for the font family, you know what? Let's go to the Waveform Display, because we can borrow stuff from there. Yeah, the default seems okay. Extra small. I don't think we want to go with extra small in this case. Let's just go with small. Regular is probably okay. Normal is okay. Let's do center, if that's a thing. It seems to be. And let's do middle. Well, it's center. Let's do center, because that's also a thing. And let's let the overflow be visible. We can write on warm to 100. I'm okay with that. And then for the position, let's give ourselves some padding from the sides of the thing. Or yeah, let's give us some padding from the sizes, from the sides. Oh, this is X and Y, and this is width and height. So it should be like this, where GFX, W, and H are given to us by REAPER, and these are the spaces I'm taking from the sides. Okay, that didn't work. Let's just try to print this, and we had an extra quote. Interesting. Of course, I am misremembering how JSFX work. sprintf, copies, yeah, that much seems correct. So what am I missing? String and then format. Oh, okay, I forgot one argument. The string that would be the output. This is like a new string that I have just generated, and it will be copied into this new string, but it also be returned by this. So that's how you do this. Let's try again. Hey, there you go, 0.0. And then if I move, it changes, all right. And with 1 decimal place, even when that decimal place is 0, which seems to be good enough for me. I think that this is reasonable. And you know what, Juan? I'm not sure I love the 35 dB here on this slider, because you'll be able to drag and drop, but also because you don't get a lot of control when you're scrolling, or when you're sliding, I guess. you don't get 0.1 dB of control because the slider is so wide. But you know what, whatever, because we are mostly interacting with this from the mixer control panel. So let's see what that looks like actually. Oh, that seems great actually. It looks okay. It seems when you mentioned the thing you wanted, this was what I had in mind. So I hope that you agree that this looks good. And I will say dB here at the end. So now it looks like this on the MCP. And I think that I always want to show the sign. When it's negative, it's already showing the sign, but when it's positive, it's hiding the sign. But I think it makes sense to show the sign. So let's see if we can make it happen by just adding a plus to the format string, like so. Yep. And when it's 0, we probably shouldn't be showing a sign, but whatever, it's good enough. And this is what it looks like on the MCP. All right, this is starting to take shape. Let's do the dragging and dropping. Or not dropping in this case, just the dragging. Well, first, let's see what you all have to say. Okay, you have given me the answer. Okay, you mean into the processing chain. You broke your iPlug installation. It's always easy to recover because you used Git to install it. So you can use Git to get it back into the original state. You could also just remove the directory and clone again using the same instructions we followed last time. But hey, you're using Git. You don't have to ever delete a directory and recreate it. Just use Git to revert to the good known state. You can use commands like git reset, and perhaps you can even install GitHub Desktop to help you out with these kinds of things. GitHub Desktop is pretty good. Visual Studio may also be good. Yes, that was correct. So will the auto mixer work with a TCP MCP? Will it show a tiny GUI of each of the tracks? Yes, indeed. So I will take this tangent real quick and show you what the auto mixer looks like as of yesterday. So you have it on different tracks and you put a tone generator in one of them, a microphone in the other, just like this. So I guess I will increase the volume of this tone generator. So you can see that the auto mixer is working, right? The sine wave is modulated with my voice. It's being auto-mixed with my voice. And this is what the interface looks like right now. So you see the waveform of the inputs. So the stuff I am saying in light gray, and then in, I guess, white, you see the output, which in this case is perhaps too quiet because perhaps the tone generator is too loud. So it isn't really realistic. Or perhaps it's just too small of a window, and the gain change is too drastic. Anyway, and this red thing is the gain that was allocated to this track. Hang on, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Why is the gain always very high on this one and very low on that one? I don't know. But you can rewatch yesterday's stream in which this was behaving correctly. I don't know why it is behaving weird now, but hey, you're going to see the waveform of the audio coming in, of the audio going out, and even the gain reduction that took place. That's the red line. It's supposed to be a red line that goes up and down. For whatever reason, it's stuck. I don't know what that's about. Anyway. Oh, there are more channels on this track because I copy and pasted the tone generator. Is that it? There you go, that was it. So this is what it looks like, Fotis. This is what it looks like right now. So red is the gain that was allocated to this microphone. When I'm speaking, the gain will be higher. When I stop speaking, the gain will be lower. Alrighty. And I imagine people using this on a live setting with REAPER, with many of these instances with the MCP stuff, and it will look like one of those big consoles. All right. Maybe needs to be single quotes. I don't know if that matters in JSFX. Yes, it matters. Like in C, double quotes means string and single quote means character. So you can have multi-byte characters, and that's part of some functions require multi-byte characters. For instance, when you're doing graphics and you want to set the font, the flags that set the font as italics or bold and that sort of thing, that needs to be a multi-byte character. So those need to be delimited with single quotes. The portable, what's that? Portable. 15 should be enough. I tend to use a lot of fine adjustment modifier. Yes, we will have this. You'll be able to click and drag to set the coarse adjustment. You'll be able to hold command to give fine adjustment, and you'll be able to double click to reset to 0. So that's the kind of thing we are going to do. Oh wait, what if, hear me out, I switch for stepped 1 dB per step control? Yeah, well, I guess perhaps the coarse can be 1 dB and the fine can be 0.1. Oh, I forgot. iPlug works by downloading the GitHub repository. It's been a month and I already forgot how it works. I will send you a detailed message on Facebook after the stream is over. Git is love. I agree. I like Git. I upgraded to Visual Studio 2022. Bad idea. I am running Visual Studio 2022 and it's working fine. What issues are you having? Oh, the GUIs don't look amazing, but they will look amazing. Well, so far they look barely functional, and I'll take it. We have been in worse situations. Okay, and Siwit is here, and a message has been held for review. I don't know why. Okay, so yeah, user interface, click and drag stuff. We have 20 minutes, let's do it. On the waveform display, we have most of what we need. So let's just look at how the waveform display is doing stuff and adapt. So we do want an interactive area. We do want some of this stuff. And we do the user interaction. So we deal with mouse clicks and drags and all of that before we start drawing. Okay, interactive area, it's not the best name, but the interactive area will actually be the whole screen, even if there is a bit of a padding on the window. I want you to be able to click and drag anywhere. So what I want is, oh, and let's also do scroll wheel. Forgot about that, but let's also do that. So what I want here is space of 0. And here, the whole window. Then, if the interactive area is active, then we are not talking about zoom anymore. We are talking about the volume in dB, that slider. And we are going to let you drag up and down. So I'm going to look at the Y coordinate. And if the control key, which on the Mac is the command key, is held down, that's a fine adjustment. That's an adjustment of something like this. And that's a coarse adjustment. And these are not values in dB. These are values in whatever scale this is using. And then let's do this slider situation, which is going to make it's going to quantize it, essentially. And if you're holding control, we want to quantize to a different value. Well, that's actually a good question. Do you want the coarse adjustment to be always at... So suppose that you have like 0.7 dB of gain. And then you start a course adjustment. Do you want it to go in steps of 0.17, 1.7, 2.7, and on and so on? So you are at 0.7. Do you want to go to 1.7, 2.7, 3.7, or do you want to go to 1, 2, 3? I think I want to go to 1.7, so I will do just that. And then we need the minimum and maximum. Well, we don't want minimum and maximum in this case. I just mentioned how I would want you to be able to go with this forever. So I'll use infinity here. And the increment, well, I think I want variables for these things. So I'll keep these names, but the increment is 0.1. Fair enough. Let's go there and define these variables. Those are the values from here. That one is from here, and the minus 35. You said that minus 15 would be fine, so I'm going to leave it at minus 15. Okay, we should be able to drag and drop. Let's test. We are not able to drag and drop. Well, let's see why. Let's check that these values make sense. Let's check that we are getting into this block. And I think that perhaps this slider function doesn't really work well with infinities. So that may be the issue, but let's commit what we have and then we will investigate. Let's say that we don't have infinities, but minus 15 and 15. And let's see if that works. Yep, that works. So it is the infinity that is making things break. And there are two ways of going about. Oh, let's also test the fine adjustment. So the coarse adjustment is not coarse enough, and the fine adjustment does something a bit weird where if oh, I guess it is working. Okay, it feels a bit weird to the hands. We'll have to adjust it. But it doesn't work well with infinities, so let's just go to 200. And there you have it. So now you can just keep going. Oh, you know what's weird? It's not affecting the output. We are still with it. It seems like it's not working anymore. Oh, I see why. We'll fix that in a moment. The issue is the slider block doesn't run if we change the value of a slider by hand like that. So my solution is to extract this into a function that I call from there, Well, I guess this can happen here. But you know what? I won't. I will have it like this. So we call that function from there, but we also call it from there. And strictly speaking, we should check that some value has changed, because otherwise this call is superfluous. But we made it so that this doesn't affect anything. It is idempotent, to use a big word. So it's okay if we don't check, but I'll leave myself a to-do here. Or I guess I can call it from here. That's already checking. Good enough. So let's try again. Yeah, now it's working again. Oof. All right, so now I need to fine-tune the values we had for the sliders here. I guess there is an easy solution, which is to detect if we should be doing a GFX fine adjustment. Just giving this a name so the code reads a little better. So I will say that when you're doing a fine adjustment, that's the step, and when you're doing a coarse adjustment, that's the step. We thought with that, we don't really need this increment stuff. Yeah, it isn't being used anywhere. And now this is how it behaves. When you drag, it is only going to be integer dB values. And when you hold command, you get this finer level of granularity. But it doesn't feel right in my hands. I think we need to adjust these values. The coarse adjustment is too drastic, so let's make it smoother. And this is perhaps it's okay. I don't know, or perhaps I'll make it even smaller, something like that. Let's test this. No. Let's actually test this on the MCP, because that's the main use case. Yeah, no, you have to drag a lot. So perhaps 0.1 was okay. I don't know. We'll have to fine-tune these values. But there is something else that we want, which is to double-click and have it reset. And we can do it like this. But we also want to call this slider function. So hey, there you go. It needs to go down again. And then it warrants that to do. And then instead of zoom, we'll have volume dB, and the volume dB default will be 0. With that, we should be able to double click. Looking fine. Let me double check real quick that I didn't forget anything from here. I think I will want this much. Well, it's not exactly that. So what this is doing is it's giving a bit of a highlight if you have the cursor on top of the interactive area. Let me show you. See how it highlights ever so slightly when I put my cursor in, and when I click, it's even brighter. Yeah, that behavior is what I want. And in this case, it had to be implemented with a rectangle, and that was because we had an interactive area that was restricted. But in this case, the whole screen is an interactive area, so we can get away with just changing the background color. And that's what we are going to do. So if the interactive area is active, the button is being pressed, we are at 700. If the cursor is on top of the interactive area, we are at 800, otherwise 900. I will align these three. I don't know if this is the best idea, but I will align them like this. There you go. And this doesn't make a lot of sense in this context, but just put this on the MCP and it does the right thing you would expect, because everywhere else on the MCP, or everywhere else on the mixer, as well as in other parts of Reaper, when you put your cursor on top, it highlights ever so slightly. So now the plugin does that too. And when you click, it becomes even brighter, which is something that does not happen in the rest of the interface. Oh, it happens in a couple places. It happens here, for instance. It changes color. It gets darker in this case. We get brighter, but you get the idea. Anyway, seems like this is good. Let's see if the waveform display has anything else that we would like to borrow. Oh, it seems like that's it. And, oh, this... What just happened? This is junk. That's what we want to change. Surprisingly, the junk compiled and ran just fine. So let's check again that it wasn't the junk that was making things correct. Okay, it's looking good. There is one more thing that I want to do, and that's to change the name. I think I will put it like mixer control panel MCP. I'll put this on the name instead of giving instructions on the plugin itself, in the hopes that people will know that they're supposed to put this on the MCP. Track control panel TCP. Whoa, no, we didn't copy. That's a long, long name. Anyway. Yeah, okay. Doesn't get more explicit than this. And at least here, it shows up just fine. doesn't show with the long name. So you can click and drag and it works, and you can put it on the MCP or on the TCP. And you can click and drag. But it still doesn't feel right to my hands. So we'll have to change how this is behaving, because it is, I think I know what's wrong. First, let's commit. So I think I know what's wrong. We want the change I am making to the cursor from one frame to the next is not great enough to register as a change in dB, so this is feeling sluggish to the mouse. The fine control works better, but not perfect, and for whatever reason it seems to work better when I'm going down, but I guess that's just because my mouse is faster when I'm going down. But if I make slow movements, it doesn't register because it's not a full dB of change. So I'm thinking of a quick and dirty solution to just put this out there. I think if I just increase this number, then it may work a little better, but perhaps this notion of using the difference on the y-axis is not what we should be doing. I think that this actually warrants a whole adjustment to how we do mouse interaction in the library in the first place, because this y difference is just the difference between two y coordinates between two consecutive frames. And what I think we should be using instead is a notion of where was the last time you changed the dB. So what was the y coordinate that caused the last change in dB? And remember that, so that if you're moving the mouse slowly, you still get changes over time. I think that's what we'll need. So I think that will be a whole coding session, or perhaps a couple, because it's a complicated concept. So I'll take note of this. Change the way mouse movement works to not take in account the changes in coordinate between frames, but remember the coordinate that caused the last change in the parameter. I don't know, this is complicated to explain and complicated to reason about. Hopefully it made sense. Anyway, it is working sort of. Let's play around with it a bit more. Nope, this is way too aggressive. Yeah, it isn't perfect, it isn't great to work with, but it is something. And something is better than nothing. So let's put this live so that Juan and everyone else can use it, but it doesn't feel perfect to the hands. I'll let you know that. And perhaps we'll continue on this sidetrack because it will be useful for the auto mixer and stuff. And perhaps tomorrow we can start working on this different notion of mouse interactivity. Anyway, let's put this live. It's not too hard, right? So all we do is add another folder to this workspace that will be my REAPER folder. Then we copy this into the effects. Then we go in, well, we actually commit this. Oh, and I forgot to do the scroll wheel. Can we do that real quick? Is it too hard? I'll leave it for the next session. Then let's get into my index.xml for my repack and get that long name. It is a long name, but hey, all right. Then I think that these spaces need to become URL encoded spaces, and that's %20, I think. Then let's push to GitHub the file that we have created. Let's get a hold of the commit that we have just pushed. Return to index.xml and change the commit number to that. So this file should exist on GitHub, and it does. And oh, I haven't changed the library, so that's incorrect. Let's copy the library. Into there, and that's a copy. I don't want that. I want to replace this file with that. Let's see what changed in the library recently. We just added, but we haven't changed anything, so it means we haven't broken stuff recently. Isn't that great? Lovely. Now we have a new commit identifier. Let's get it. Let's replace this and that. Let's push what we have. It finished pushing, so that file should exist, and it does. And here is the comment we just added. And this file should exist, and it does. So we can commit the changes to index.xml, push that, and Juan, you can go to my repack repository. If you have not installed it already, the link is in the description below. Go there, install this, play around with it. It doesn't feel great on the mouse yet, but it does mostly what you asked for, I think, at least my understanding of it. Visual Studio updated, and then iPlug doesn't work anymore, and that's all you know. Well, a clean reinstall may help. And if you know any error messages and what is the exact step in which things are not working anymore, if you have more details, we can perhaps help better, but perhaps a clean reinstall will do it for you. Instead of checking values, you could also set a flag, update 1, and then call slider only when that flag is set. Fair enough. Volume, that. All right. Thank you, Juan, for the idea. Thank you, Tail, Bo, Fotis, Seawitz, and everyone else who is watching this. And I see you back here tomorrow, and we will dive into this mouse interactivity stuff. Wish me luck. Have a good one. Bye. Thank you for watching the stream. You know how great it has been. Or maybe it sucked, and I am glad that you stuck with me. And so we'll all be back together for some more coding or talking or chilling. The next time I'll be streaming.